Battlefield Mobile is one of those games that feels cursed at this point. For years, we've been hearing rumors, leaks, insider reports, canceled projects, Frostbite engine discussions, and yet somehow, we still don't have an actual Battlefield game on mobile. And players slowly losing hope, because every time a new AAA mobile shooter gets announced, people get excited for a few months, then for some weird reasons, game either shuts down or becomes another soulless project trying to copy Warzone mobile fate. Players nowadays want large-scale chaos, real destruction, that war-like atmosphere and immersion. That feeling of being inside an actual war instead of just playing another fast-paced mobile shooter with skins and flashy cosmetics. But when all of us were waiting for Battlefield Mobile, we already got something surprisingly close to it. And the weirdest part is, it didn't come from Electronic Arts itself. There's a new recently launched game, like Battlefield 1, and this one isn't looking like something heavily unfinished or lack of identity, like Project BFA or Strike Team Online. So, in today's video, we're talking about Weltkreig Firestorm, a first-person multiplayer shooter inspired by World War I events and developed by Bix Team. I don't even know if this studio has any history of making massive AAA games before, but after looking at this game for a while, I can say I'm actually impressed. Because the graphics, the atmosphere, the way character holds the weapon, and the recoil with overall animations, everything feels perfect and realistic, especially if it's made by an indie team. You can see rain dropping across the battlefield, distant thunder striking, fires burning everywhere, 1940s warplanes flying above the sky, and combined with that dark, brutal war-like environment, it actually makes you feel like you're inside a Battlefield-style game instead of some flashy, skinny gacha game. And the sound design also deserves credit. The footsteps sound heavy. Explosions have actual impact and bass. Planes flying above you have proper audio presence. Gunshots echo across the map. Small details like these make the entire game feel more punchy and alive. Honestly, for an indie team like Bix, this is genuinely impressive work. Surely Battlefield Mobile is coming, but it has years of time and work before we even see it on screen. And right now, Delta Force Mobile is basically carrying the entire large-scale warfare genre alone. There's no real competition in this space. But then games like Firestorm suddenly appear and remind people that mobile gaming still has huge untapped potential. And most people don't look in that direction, and they don't get enough support. But Firestorm Mobile has most of it, and it looks ambitious. That's something mobile industry has been missing for a long time. Because if you look at the current situation, so many AAA studios with massive budgets keep failing to capture the mobile market. They spend millions of dollars, years of development, huge marketing campaigns, yet still launch games that feel soulless, unoptimized, or completely out of touch with what mobile players actually want. Meanwhile, small indie teams are slowly starting to understand the market better, because indie developers don't need to build the biggest game in the world. They just need to give players something fun, addictive, optimized, and different. Something that big companies keep failing to deliver. And sadly, this isn't widely happening on shooter games. And we've seen a situation before where a game called Firefront Mobile, made by the same studio behind Bullet Force, and that team already had years of experience in mobile gaming developments. The project had huge potential, but the team behind it had zero confidence, and they mentioned in their final message that Delta Force Mobile can ruin their project, and they've to cancel it because the funding wasn't enough for AAA experience. But anyways, if you're honestly getting bored of playing the same repetitive mobile shooters again and again, and looking for something that actually feels different, then maybe this is one of those games you should try at least once. Because right now, there aren't many historical war games on mobile that actually try to create this kind of atmosphere and large-scale battlefield feeling. And supporting projects like this is also important, because if small developers see players actually interested in these types of games, it pushes them to improve even more, instead of completely abandoning the genre. So here's what Weltkreig Firestorm currently offers, and I've personally also noticed some downsides that'll cover everything in this video. And let's see whether this game is actually worth your time in long-term progression or not. Right now, the game has two main modes: a small-scale 6v6 quick match mode for quick gameplay, and a larger 12v12 conquest mode where both teams fight to capture objectives across the map and gain points to win the match. And honestly, this is where the Battlefield inspiration becomes very obvious. Because the entire conquest system feels similar to classic Battlefield and Delta Force style gameplay where team positioning, capturing flags, and holding areas actually matters instead of just running around mindlessly and getting kills. The maps themselves are also inspired by historical war locations. So while playing, you'll notice destroyed buildings, broken fortifications, open battlefield areas, trenches, and multiple tactical routes across different parts of the map, which makes combat feel less repetitive and more thrilling. And surprisingly, the vehicle gameplay is also here. You can drive World War I-style tanks across the battlefield and use heavy cannons or mounted automatic weapons. Another interesting thing is the faction system. Both teams have their own unique classes and combat roles with different weapons depending on what playstyle you want to use. Some classes focus on bolt-action rifles and long-range combat. Some give you snipers, some use shotguns for aggressive close fights, while others have automatic weapons for constant pressure. And just like Battlefield games, The more score you gain during matches, the more powerful equipment you unlock mid-game. Sometimes you can get flamethrowers, RPG launchers, or even heavy tanks, depending on your performance during the match. And that progression system makes the gameplay feel more rewarding and dynamic, instead of staying the same from start to finish. And honestly, none of these things would even matter if the game had bad controls or terrible optimization. Because at the end of the day, this is mobile gaming. And one of the fastest ways to kill any mobile shooter is by making it laggy, unoptimized, or filled with uncomfortable controls that cover half of the screen. Thankfully, the team behind Weltkreig Firestorm actually did a surprisingly good job in this area. The controls feel very clean and simple to understand. I've had easy time managing buttons and making space on my screen. A lot of times what happens is many games keep separate buttons for every action instead of merging it into one, and that takes extra space on your screen, which is just a headache instead of smart management. But here, everything feels much more organized and comfortable. And now coming to the biggest point, storage and performance. And luckily, this game is actually very well optimized. It supports up to 120 FPS, runs smoothly on different devices, and doesn't feel heavy at all compared to most modern shooters. And honestly, if we compare pure optimization alone, it feels more stable than games like Warzone Mobile or even Delta Force Mobile, which is crazy considering this is an indie project. And then there's the storage size. The entire game is around 2 GB, and that's mostly it. When you actually look at the graphics, the atmosphere, the texture quality, the audio design, and everything else the game is offering, it's honestly impressive how much they managed to fit into such a small download size. Because most modern mobile games today cross 10 GB, or even more, while still having optimization problems. Meanwhile, this game stays lightweight while still looking good enough to feel like a proper Battlefield-styled experience on mobile. And obviously there are some downsides I noticed too. No game is perfect. Even AAA studios with unlimited budgets still launch broken games every single year. And this is still an indie project anyway, so keeping expectations realistic is better for everyone. The first major problem I noticed was the matchmaking and player count. Most of the lobbies currently feel filled with bots instead of real players, and the bot movements feel extremely awkward. They randomly walk in weird directions, react slowly, and overall, it breaks the immersion during intense gunfights. Another thing is the controls and character response still need more polish. Sometimes, whenever you press multiple buttons together, like crouch, jump, reload, or fire, the character doesn't react instantly. The animation feels delayed or completely misses the input. And because of that, you end up tapping a single button repeatedly. And of course, the game still lacks content right now. There aren't enough maps, modes, progression systems, unlockables, or overall variety compared to big multiplayer games. Accessibility options also feel very limited at the moment. But again, since this game is still in beta phase, upcoming updates will decide whether this project actually evolves into something bigger or slowly starts losing direction. Because honestly, the potential here is massive. A Battlefield and Delta Force-style mobile game based around World War-inspired warfare is something many players have wanted for years. And if the developers continue improving optimization, animations, player count, and overall content support, this game could become something much bigger than most people are expecting right now. So I think we're at the end of the video, and I hope I've covered all of important points for you to know this game better. But the most important part is letting me know. Are you going to try this game? What do you feel about overall gameplay? Do you think it has potential, or you're not interested at all? Let me know everything in comments, because that's what matters the most. So this is the end of today's video. I'm Lagacy. See you next time.